Hey everyone, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. Who's ready to start planning and doodling and lettering? I'm running out of verbs here, but you guys know the deal. May is just around the corner, which means it's time to set up my bullet journal for this month. I'm really excited to get started, but before we do, I'd like to thank this week's sponsor, Storyblocks. You guys probably know by now how much I love Storyblocks and use them in a lot of my work, and I'm actually going to be showing you guys how I incorporate Storyblocks into this bullet journal spread a bit later into the video. But for those of you who don't know what Storyblocks is, it's an online stock image website where you can download all of the high quality stock images that your heart desires. As I mentioned, I'm going to tell you more about it later in the video, but if you want to try it out, you can click the link in my description box and save $50 off an annual membership, which is amazing. Moving on to my personal favorite part of these videos, the part where I get to showcase some of your recreations of my last bullet journal spread, which was for April. That was one of my favorite ones, so I was so happy to see you guys enjoying recreating all of the spreads. Actually, an update on that, some of you may know if you follow me on my Instagram, but I had a recent scare with my external hard drive. I plugged it in and nothing showed up, so I basically lost all of my files and all of my videos and Final Cut Pro libraries and photos. And the thing that I was most sad about was that that external hard drive had a folder filled with basically every single screenshot ever of your recreations, but we will see. Hopefully it gets fixed, fingers crossed. Luckily, I still have the more recent screenshots, which is what you're seeing above me right now. If you do decide to recreate this month's bullet journal spread, please send me a picture. You can tag me in the photo and the caption at AmandaRachLee. I have to refill up my folder now that it's basically completely empty. So send me those recreations so I can fill the void in my heart. Okay, no more being sad about it. Deep breaths. We are doing positivity for May. I think this intro has gone on long enough. I'm going to hand you off to the voiceover now. So for my theme this month, I decided to link it back to my April bullet journal setup because April showers brings May flowers, of course. So I did this lavender field with all these lavender flowers swaying in the wind, and I feel like it ended up looking very calming and relaxing, which is what I was going for because the scent of lavender is actually meant to be really relaxing, which I think I need in my life right now. And the pastel lavender color really worked well, so I'm gonna link the exact number code of the Tombow dual brush pen that I used in the description box below in case you're curious. For the page next to the cover page, I decided to do another collage because I enjoyed the one that I did in April so much. So of course the first place I went to find my images was Storyblocks. They have over 400,000 vectors, illustrations, photos, icons, whatever you need, they have it covered in their library. All the content is royalty free, so you have nothing to worry about. You can use it in both personal and commercial projects, and they are also always adding fresh new images to the library, so there's always something new to download. To top things off, you're also able to save on millions of additional marketplace content where artists take home 100% of the profits. Artist supporting artist. That's always awesome. So if you want to try out Storyblocks for yourself, be sure to click that link in the description box to save $50 off an annual membership. Anyways, as you can see, I printed out a bunch of the images that I chose from Storyblocks. There's just a lot of pictures of lavender from different angles and all different shades and whatnot. And rather than just winging it and cutting and gluing random pieces of paper, I decided to sketch out my collage a little by penciling in some geometric shapes, and that way I kind of had an idea as to what I wanted to cut out from each image. So here you'll see me cutting each of those out. It took me a little bit of trial and error to figure out which images I wanted where and where I wanted them to all be placed. I ended up changing it completely from my initial sketch, but once I found a layout that I was happy with, I marked it with a pencil and then used my adhesive tape roller to stick the images onto the paper. After that, I erased any pencil marks that were still showing, and then you guys know I love to doodle on my images. I feel like it brings everything together, so you'll see me adding accent lines and drawing right on the image, kind of just having fun with it and seeing where my mind takes me with the collage. These have been some of my favorite pages, so I highly recommend trying it out. Collaging is kind of fun. I decided to go back in with the cover page and add a few more details because it was looking a little bare to me, but overall I really love the way that this spread turned out. For my monthly log, I am creating a standard calendar layout. Usually I would put the title at the top, but I had this idea of making the lavender fields at the bottom, so I wanted the title of May to be at the bottom as well, so I just pushed the whole calendar upwards. In case you were wondering, each box is about 6 by 6, I believe. I went with rounded edges on the calendar just to switch things up a little and used that accent color at the top to highlight the days of the month. I also used that exact same Tombow dual brush pen, except I used the smaller end to create the numbers, and since this was a lighter color, it worked because it kind of got pushed into the background rather than taking up a lot of space in the box. And of course, you guys know me, I have to add a drop shadow to everything. This one I decided to do a cross-hatched drop shadow, so you'll see instead of doing it solid with a color or black, I added a bunch of diagonal lines. And I also did that same style of drop shadow to my YouTube growth tracker to keep everything looking cohesive. Now it's time to move on to the insane amount of lavender flowers you're about to see me draw. I think I was just really lusting after doodling some flowers because I realized that the last time I did a floral theme was July 2017, so almost a year ago, which is crazy to me because florals are always my go-to to doodle. So I had a lot of fun doodling these lavender flowers, and they're also really quick and easy to draw, which again I will be doing a mini doodle tutorial coming out hopefully this weekend so that you guys can implement them all into your bullet journal spread. Something to note as well is that I'm actually switching between 2 shades of Tombow dual brush pens. You might not be able to tell the difference, but in real life you can definitely tell one's a little bit darker, and that's just because I knew I was going to be doodling a lot of lavender, so I think the difference in color added some more depth and interest to the overall look. But in the end, I just filled up that whole bottom portion of the calendar with these lavender just to make it look like an actual lavender field. And I don't think I have a clip of me actually doing this, but later on I went back in and added some dots floating all around it. This kind of makes it look like pollen or like fairy dust floating in the wind, and it just goes really well with it. So moving on to my mood tracker, this is going to be really interesting because I'm going to have to explain it really well. First of all, I messed up the numbers, so I had to color over it with the purple and just do it with the black fine liner. Sorry this is out of focus, wow, this is just a mess. But anyways, you can see I'm drawing dotted lines from every single number, and that's because for every single day I'm going to be drawing a different lavender sprout, and the length of the lavender sprout depends on my mood. So if I'm in a really good mood, I'll draw a taller lavender sprout. I'm not sure if that's the technical term for it, but on the flip side, if I'm in a not so good mood, I'll draw a shorter one. So at the end of the month, it'll look like a bunch of different heights and lengths of lavender sprouts. Hopefully more taller than shorter. For my habit tracker this month, I had been testing out doing individual trackers in a couple of the previous months, and they have been working really well for me, but you guys know I always say that when things are getting boring, just switch things up. It keeps yourself motivated to actually keep up with your bullet journal and to enjoy it and have fun doing it. So I went back to this grid layout where I have the days going down and I have every single habit that I want to track across the top. Each symbol represents a different habit I want to track, so I have a broccoli for eating healthy, I have a dumbbell for working out, and then I'll just put a dot there whenever I do that specific habit. Next is my expense tracker, which is another thing that I decided to switch up. I do like splitting up my expenses between weeks as well as splitting them up between categories because it's really interesting for me to see where I'm spending my money and where I'm spending too much money. So I have various categories across the top, like house, groceries, restaurant, social, extra, and then I have the different weeks. And I left a good amount of space for each week. I think is about 6 or 7 dots per week. That way I would have enough space if I do, let's say, multiple restaurants in one week. If that makes sense. Expense trackers have always been the thing that has been the hardest for me to keep up with in my bullet journal, but I know that they're the most beneficial, so I've been switching things up recently and trying to find a layout that really works for me. Next to it, I know this is a little contradictory, but I have a shopping list, which is probably something I should not have if I'm trying to manage my expenses. But I do find that sometimes I need a list of groceries that I want to buy or household items that I need to get, and having a separate page for that has been really helpful. For decoration and for fun, I added this little bouquet of lavender in the corner, you know, just to spice things up a little because it was looking a little blank. Turning to the next spread, I'm going to be making my video planner next. Last month I actually just had one page for a video planner and I was really tight on space, so I just decided to bite the bullet and make it a 2-page spread. It's completely empty because that's what I find works for me. I like having a place where I can just spew all information and ideas that I have about my videos on here, and it really works for me. So I just of course had to add the lavender flowers in for decoration, and I added a little border all the way around with some lavender on the ends. I feel like as this video goes on you can see me getting lazier and lazier with drawing the lavender, but I actually ended up liking the way that the rougher, looser illustrations looked because it kind of looked like a sketchbook almost, or like a field drawing. So I'm probably gonna end up implementing the more looser drawings later in my future spreads, but on purpose this time. Alright, so the final spread is of course the first weekly spread, and for the layout I went back to an oldie but a goodie, the layout with the weekly sidebar. Again, there was nothing really wrong with any of the other weekly layouts that I was doing, but I always like to switch things up and it makes things fun for me. I wanted to make sure that the whole setup throughout all of the pages looked consistent, so you'll see that I'm implementing a lot of the same motifs throughout it, like the cross-hatched, I don't know if that's the right term, the drop shadow with all the diagonal lines in it, basically. I did that for all of the circles as well as the weekly sidebar, and I also used the same style of lettering throughout the whole month. And then of course I had to add the lavender, but I just added random sprigs of it throughout the spread. In the little corner on the right, top right, I added a tiny monthly overview because there's a perfect space for it right there. And then in the bottom section, I decided to add in a little quote that says, "A calm mind is the ultimate weapon against your challenges." And I feel like that really goes well with this theme because lavender does have relaxing properties, as I mentioned. I just need some stress reduction right now. Funnily enough, I have my diffuser going on right now and I'm diffusing some lavender essential oils into the air. I specifically chose lavender because I knew I was making this video and it was just perfect. I had to. But anyways, bringing things back, here is the final flip through of my May 2018 bullet journal setup. I actually really like the way that this one turned out, and I know I say that a lot, but this one especially, I like how minimal it looks and how calming it is. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and if you have any other suggestions for next month's theme. Alright everyone, thank you so much for planning with me, or if you weren't actually planning alongside me, thank you for chilling, hanging out. Hope to see you back here for the next video, which by the way, something new that I did last month was do a mini doodle tutorial video, so one will be coming out for this month's theme. Keep on the lookout for that. If you're craving some more bullet journal inspiration, go follow me over on my Instagram at AmandaRachDoodles. We do a lot of fun stuff over there. We do Sunday live streams where I do my weekly bullet journal spread. I post a lot of pictures, and of course, that's how I can see your recreations. So if you do make a recreation, be sure to tag me in the photo and the caption. I'd love to see them. But I think we pretty much covered everything. Keep doodling, and I'll talk to you in my next video. Bye everyone!